At the outset, all you're doing is fast dancing. Just go out there and show them how good you are at footwork. Each of us wears a mask. As individuals, we are all on the lookout for our unique qualities. Danny DeVito's life story is tragic, even though he reached 80 not long ago. For decades, Danny has kept a terrible secret, a rare condition that causes him daily suffering. He turned down millions of dollars in offers from Hollywood to get cosmetic surgery. He rejected it and shredded the agreement. Rumors are swirling around him. Because he had the courage to speak out, he was silently blacklisted. The reality of his pain is now becoming revealed. How come he would rather have the ease than live a life of silent agony? Is Danny DeVito's secret out in the open now? Stay attentive in spite of everything if you want to know the truth. DeVito's life story is tragic, and he just turned 80. Night after night, his father would get aggressive, and his mother would admit that she never wanted him. For his drinking. There were 17 calls to the police before he turned 15. However, it's far from the worst aspect. For decades, Danny has kept a secret that hurts. He has a rare disease that hurts every day. He turned down millions of dollars from Hollywood to alter his appearance surgically. Nevertheless, he rejected the offer and shredded the contract. At age 80, the details of his ordeal are now being revealed. You are about to have your world turned upside down by Danny DeVito's true story. Make sure you tune in. Though he had no interest in being an actor until he was a little boy, Danny DeVito was born in Neptune, New Jersey, in 1944. His upbringing was fraught with difficulty. Fairbanks disease, an extremely rare ailment, caused his bones to grow unnaturally. It made going about his daily life a little more challenging and caused him a lot of pain. He was also noticeably shorter than other kids, which wasn't immediately obvious. While some may have been discouraged, Danny remained unfazed. He had a way of making people laugh and feel comfortable, even when he wasn't feeling well himself. Having that kind personality and good humor would come in handy in due time. After graduating from high school, Danny DeVito had no desire to become famous. Instead, he found a permanent position as a hairstylist, where he could trim and style clients' hair while also chatting with them and making them laugh. Before a client offered acting as a career path, he was social and fulfilled in his profession. She thought Danny had the ideal personality for her husband's job as a theatrical producer. He couldn't shake the notion, no matter how far-fetched it seemed. Because he was adventurous and open to change, he enrolled at New York's American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Getting going was a real challenge. DeVito worked odd jobs, played little parts in plays, and endured relentless rejection from Hollywood because they didn't think he could be a leading guy. He lacked the conventional good looks, height, and charisma that were once Hollywood standards. Nevertheless, he possessed tenacity, charm, and faith in his capacity to establish connections with individuals. The turning moment was a friendship. While Michael Douglas was working as an actor in a New York theater, Danny crossed paths with him. Their bond deepened. Michael saw something special in Danny beyond his outward appearance, and they were able to connect on a deeper level. The 1975 film adaptation of the famous book by Ken Kesey, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, included Michael Douglas as an assistant in the production. He thought of Danny, the character played by Danny DeVito in the stage version of the play. Danny had been a mental health facility patient before. When Michael insisted on recasting him for the film, the tide turned. When Danny was cast as a patient at the institution, Martini, it was his first taste of real Hollywood success. In 1976, the picture was one of the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful of its year, earning numerous Academy Awards. Danny was taken note of. It was noteworthy even if it didn't have a major role. He imbued the persona with an extraordinarily human aspect that was at once honest, unfiltered, and hilarious. The man whose livelihood depended on trimming hair found himself suddenly starring with Jack Nicholson in a critically acclaimed picture. Just then, the door swung open. Since then, he has been steadily getting more parts and attention. Being a hairdresser, taking a leap of faith in a theatrical class, making a friend who believed in him, and landing a role in a film all contributed to the beginning of a career that would continue for decades. That peculiar detour was where it all started. The narrative is real, however it reads like fiction. Plus, it's a great reflection of Danny Devito. His persistence paid off, even if he didn't conform or follow the conventional path. That boldness informed not just his worldview, but also the unexpected launch of his acting career. When you first met Danny Devito, you might not have thought he had what it took to become a Hollywood star. Due to his uncommon Fairbanks disease, he was short, just around 5 feet tall, and walked with a slight limp. It was innate to him. Because the condition altered his bone growth pattern, he endured chronic discomfort throughout his life. But instead of letting it deter him, Danny leaned into it. Seeing as he was self-aware enough to know that he stood out, he figured they might as well keep staring nevertheless. His "this is who I am" attitude and lack of fear were two of his strongest characteristics. Danny's breakthrough came in the late 70s, when he made an appearance in the 1978 to 1983 series Taxi. He played the role of Louis De Palma, a cab dispatcher who is strident, bitter, and strangely charming. You can't say that Louis was your typical TV host. Charm, good looks, and smoothness were all absent from him. He lacked grace, was rude, and could be rather abrupt. Danny, nevertheless, played the part to the letter, in a hilarious way. He made Louis feel as though he were someone you might meet in a seedy New York garage. The crowds adored him. Members of the critical community spoke highly of him. He began to receive accolades shortly after. Aside from the Golden Globe, he also won an Emmy. In an instant, Danny Devito went from an unknown actor to a household name. After that, what occurred? This is unbelievable, in the style of Danny Devito. After Taxi became successful, Danny didn't sit back and enjoy the limelight. Because he was restless, he sought out a career in movies. Terms of Endearment, which won an Academy Award in 1983, featured him. Danny may not have had a huge role in the film, but he more than justified its length. Every time he appeared on TV, you couldn't help but notice him. He had a knack for getting the most out of brief exposure to screens. Romancing the Stone starred Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, in which he also appeared. In 1984, not long after, played the role of the antagonist's brother in this high-octane comedy. He was absolutely remarkable, hilarious, crafty, and just a little bit dodgy. Danny proved he could hold his own in major Hollywood productions with the hit film. By the 1980s, Danny had graduated from the role of comic relief to that of a major player in the public eye. He played a narcissistic husband trying to get a divorce in his 1986 sequel, Ruthless People. All at once, it was dark, shocking, and funny. Next, in 1988, he worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger on the picture Twins, which made use of their striking physical dissimilarities. The primary premise was that Arnold was towering and chiseled, whereas Danny was diminutive and round. Nevertheless, the film's success was due in large part to their cordial relationship. This unusual couple was beloved by many. Danny had matured into a leading man. Now he was a major star in Hollywood. But he wasn't finished shocking them yet. When Tim Burton cast him as the Penguin in Batman Returns, 1992, he radically changed his career trajectory. Among the most strange and twisted superhero movie villains of all time, Danny was completely unprepared for this kind of position. In addition to being terrifying, the Penguin was hideous and deformed. Wearing a black top hat, he exhibited dark bags under his eyes and vomited out black slime whenever he talked. In equal measure, it was magnificent and repulsive. Danny completely embodied the role. You almost didn't recognize him under all that makeup. He refrained from depicting the Penguin as a comic book villain. He made him seem like a victim who had been out for vengeance his whole life. It felt strange. It was daring and effective. While reviews for the picture were varied, almost all critics could agree that Danny was the film's standout performance. The fact that Danny managed to pull it all off, despite enduring the constant pain of Fairbanks' sickness, is what really sets it apart. His bones hurt, and his body wouldn't move the way he wanted it to, but that didn't stop him. One could even argue that it provided him with an edge over his competitors. His physical presence, sharp eyes, and lightning-fast ability to go from hilarious to terrifying all stemmed from his unconventional Hollywood figure. Instead of trying to blend in, Danny made the bold professional decision to stand out. With his talent, heart, and a dash of bravery, Danny Devito proved that one can go from comedian to comic book villain on screen, and vice versa. His acting was influenced by his brave embrace of his differences. It also stoked his fire to explore other artistic avenues. But how did Danny DeVito's eccentricities become his lasting reputation in Hollywood? Then let's get started. After years of delighting audiences with his unique on-screen presence and making them laugh, Danny DeVito eventually decided he wanted to be in charge of both sides of the camera. While many actors dabble in directing, for Danny DeVito, the craft was more than just a fad. Along with his real storytelling ability and peculiar biting sense of humor, he took his talents behind the camera. His debut feature film as a filmmaker was 1987's Throw Mama from the Train. Darkly comedic, strange, and twisted in a Danny-esque way. In the film, which he co-starred in with Billy Crystal, two men sought to escape the grip of troublesome individuals in their lives. It was amusing, strange, and eccentric, and it went well with DeVito's non-traditional approach. Danny DeVito became more influential in Hollywood after he took major steps away from the camera. He helmed the 1996 charming and whimsical family film Matilda, which was based on the book by Roald Dahl. A lot of people related to the film's theme of sticking with something even when things get tough. Since DeVito co-starred and directed with his real-life wife, Rhea Perlman, the film gained an extra layer of emotional complexity. At about the same time, he helped start Jersey Films, a production business that focused on bold, unconventional narratives. One of its crowning triumphs was producing Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino's seminal 1994 film that revolutionized modern independent filmmaking. As a director and producer, Devito proved he was more than just a talented actor. He was also a visionary with a knack for telling unique tales. Along with other eccentric or risky ventures, Danny DeVito co-founded Jersey Films, a production firm that backed powerful, significant stories like Erin Brockovich. This film showcased DeVito's commitment to backing meaningful and socially significant projects. Julia Roberts portrayed a determined legal assistant fighting a major environmental dispute. It became clear that DeVito's life and Hollywood experiences informed his penchant for narrating stories of underdogs and system-challenging individuals, in addition to his comedy and odd storylines. The film industry wasn't the only thing that Danny DeVito had to overcome throughout his career. He was born with Fairbanks disease, an uncommon hereditary condition that stunted his bone growth. As a result, he had severe pain and stood out physically. He wasn't like other people. It was difficult for many in Hollywood to put a label on him. But rather than trying to conceal his idiosyncrasies, DeVito embraced them, and his distinctive charisma, voice, and presence served as artistic tools that propelled him to stardom. Despite the constant physical hardship he endured, he persisted and established a unique profile for himself in the entertainment industry. So, Danny DeVito's contributions as a filmmaker and producer extend beyond the projects he oversaw and the A-listers he worked with. It's about his uncanny knack for telling stories in novel ways, especially ones that defied easy classification. From dark comedies about murder to charming children's stories, he brought an unusual charm and a lot of heart to everything he worked on. Despite the outlandish antics and humorous personalities, there has always been a message that states, "I may not appear what you expect, but I have something to say." And Danny DeVito's direction and production once again made it crystal clear. After that, what occurred? This is something you should hear, more pronounced as one gets older. Surprise casting news! Danny DeVito joined the second season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on his 62nd birthday. Even though most actors his age start to slow down, Danny DeVito plunged headfirst into playing the unfiltered Frank Reynolds in one of the most outlandish comedies on television. He helped propel the show to cult status after his 2006 arrival. A new generation of admirers was won over by DeVito's daring performance, which embraced outrageous and frequently shocking actions. This demonstrated that he was still fearless in the face of adversity, a master of his craft, and an entertainer of the future, despite his lengthy career. With his lifelong battle with Fairbanks disease, a rare genetic condition, in the background, DeVito was also dealing with something extremely personal. Until he chose to publicly discuss it at a later stage in his life, few people knew about it. Fairbanks disease is a bone growth abnormality that impacts height, inhibits movement, and causes joint pain. DeVito's tiny stature, he's just under 5 feet, has plagued him with constant pain throughout his life. His impressions of the world as a child impacted him since he often felt different and limited by his physical abilities. Nevertheless, he persisted in his pursuits despite that. In fact, he turned his appearance into one of the things that set him apart as an actor. He didn't come clean about Fairbanks's illness out of pity. Rather, he wanted to assist others going through the same thing. People with impairments or bone issues were his target audience, more so the ones that aren't plainly obvious. His candor shone through at this, as it did at many other points in his life. Despite his Hollywood persona, he has always been an honest speaker. Actress Rhea Perlman, who rose to fame on Cheers, was Danny DeVito's girlfriend for a long time in his personal life. Following their 1982 wedding, they remained a couple for many years. They lived together, had 3 children, and were very creatively connected. They worked together on multiple projects and were consistently supportive of each other's professional endeavors. However, they chose to part ways in 2012 after being married for nearly 30 years. There was little public outcry or drama involved. Actually, they remained married. Even though they weren't living together in the conventional sense anymore, they remained extremely close and kept spending time together. Danny DeVito, therefore, did not retire from the limelight or slow down in his twilight years. In their place, he faithfully remained true to the individuals who meant the most to him, bravely took on new tasks that tested him in unpredictable ways, and shared his stories of personal hardship to make others feel understood. Keeping his job afloat wasn't the only goal of his quest during this period. Changing with the times, telling the truth, and entertaining millions of people with your antics were the themes. His dedication to candor and perseverance shone through in every interaction, from candid interviews to his famous crawl from a leather couch on national television. Even when it wasn't on television, it made a strong personal appearance. The man who never ceased changing his look. What happened to him? We will discover. Something significant occurred in July of 2023 that didn't generate a ton of buzz, but revealed a lot about Danny DeVito's character. He gave $500,000 to the Neptune, New Jersey, hospital where he was born, without doing any sort of emotional speech or publicity stunt. This wasn't merely an emotional high for the stars. Personally, I felt it. His narrative started in 1944 at that very hospital. The plot is difficult from the very beginning. His family had a hard time getting by when he was born. Both of his parents struggled with alcoholism, and his mother originally rejected him. Fairbanks' disease, an extremely rare bone ailment, was present when Danny was born, adding insult to injury. His growth was retarded, and he suffered from constant agony as a result. It made people's lives more difficult than they could have imagined for a long time. But rather than becoming bitter, he transformed into someone intriguing, kind, compassionate, and courageous. The $500,000 contribution was more than just a kind gesture. This is where it all began, and I made it, Danny said in his own unique way. Give that some consideration. This man, who as a child endured physical and emotional trauma, has grown up to do more than just make people laugh all over the globe. He has also made it his mission to give back to the community that welcomed him. That kind of memory and that kind of action stuck with him, no matter how challenging that world was at first. Says a lot about his character outside of his acting gigs and television appearances. After a long hiatus, Danny returned to the limelight in May 2025, but this time with a whole new purpose. The internet went boom after his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Almost instantly, the video of his appearance became widely shared online. It wasn't because he intentionally attempted to get viral or did anything shocking. His words were unfiltered. Danny, as always, brought his trademark blend of charisma, sarcasm, and brutal candor to the conversation. Topics covered included politics, aging, and Hollywood, with an occasional foray into his trademark bizarre and humorous insights. The public was absolutely enamored. No matter their level of emotion, fans couldn't help but quote him, share the clip, and comment things like, "Danny Devito just stole the show." On the other hand, rumors started circulating about that look, low voices, which had been circulating for some time. In Hollywood, whispers circulated that Danny was being blacklisted, not in an overtly dramatic sense, but rather as if some doors were refusing to open. Nothing scandalous was the reason. His outspoken nature was the reason. When something doesn't set well with Danny, he doesn't hold his tongue. No matter the issue, political, social, or simply pointing out stupidity when he sees it, he has never been afraid to stand out for his beliefs. To be honest, that's always added to his charisma. Somehow, he manages to make what other people won't say amusing or real, or maybe even both. Danny Devito hasn't had as many big jobs as he used to, despite his talent and lengthy career. This might be because he doesn't play by the rules, or because Hollywood is so focused on appearance and young. His modest $500,000 is just one example of how he keeps working, speaking out, and being generous. Year 2023 contribution. Fairbanks disease is a rare condition that Devito has just become more vocal about. Below his strong face and comedy, he suffers with chronic pain. He has shown strength through vulnerability by speaking up about his situation, which gives a voice to others who have invisible illnesses. The recent hospital donation, the appearance on the popular talk show, and the rumors of being discreetly excluded all come together to provide a more complete picture. Not only is Danny Devito a famous actor, but he is much more than that. All these years later, he's still very much involved, giving back, and making his voice heard. He maintains his authenticity whether he's on, off, or in the midst of a social media frenzy. Grittiness, joy, sorrow, and difficulty have all been parts of his life story. Even at age 80, he continues to demonstrate the importance of speaking up and standing firm. How do you feel about Danny DeVito's gradual ascent from relative obscurity to Hollywood renown? Do you think the strength of his triumph is magnified by his unorthodox journey and unbridled resolve? Please subscribe, like, and share for more content like this. Additionally, please select the video that appears on your screen. I promise you, you will love it.